In this lesson, we're going to look at using some of the Plaid tools in BERNINA DesignWorks software. We are going to start by installing a new font. This one's called Hello Christmas. I'm going to double click on my Hello Christmas font folder, and then I'm going to right click on Hello Christmas Trial.ttf and going to click install. Normally you wouldn't get a pop-up like this. Instead, you just have to give it permission. I'm going to say no, I don't need it replaced. I don't really need it installed again. Once it is installed, we can now open our DesignWorks software. I'm going to create a new design and click Next. For fabric, I want to be an embroidery smooth. Choose Cotton 2, and I like this light off-white color. I'm going to click Next. I'm going to do a new graphic. And for hoop, I want to choose the Bernina MIDI hoop 165 by 265, number 93, and click Finished. We're going to start by using that font, and our hoop's not really going the right way if we want to write words out, or at least not big, long words. So I'm going to left click on the Show Hoop icon. I'm going to put a check mark next to Rotate by 90 degrees and say OK. I also want to go ahead and choose which pins I'm going to use. So I'm going to left click on the Edit palette, and where it says Brushes palette, I'm going to choose Eddings and say OK. Now I'm ready to grab my font. I'm going to left click on my Edit Text tool. For font name, I'm going to click on the drop down so it's there, and then type in H, which will take me to the H's. And then I'm looking for Hello Christmas. For height, or font size, I want it to be 5.5 inches. I want this to be quite big. Then I'm going to click on my screen, and I'm going to type in Noel. Normally, to get out of a tool, you would hit spacebar, which would get you out of the tool and select the object. This does not work when you're using the text tool because it thinks you just want to put space. So instead, I'm going to click on the rectangle selection tool, and I'm just going to click and drag it to the center of my hoop. And one thing you might notice if you look closely where the N overlaps the O, you can see part of the tail of the N. That is telling me that that's an individual object, and I don't want it to be an individual object. I want them to kind of be welded together. So I'm going to right click, and I'm going to break it apart to tell it don't see it as text anymore. I'll move my sequence manager over. I'm going to click off so nothing's selected, and I've decided I don't want the stars, so I'm going to delete them. So I'm just clicking on them and hitting delete. And then I'm going to weld my letters together. So I'm going to select the N, hold down Shift, select the O, E, and then finally the L. And then I'm going to come up to the top and click on Weld. So this makes it one object. Now I'm ready to make it into a plaid. So I'm going to change my fill type to PaintNet Fill. I'm going to change the color by clicking in the lower right hand corner, so this is the fill area, to a red. I'm going to change my cell size to 3.0 millimeters and press enter to set that. And then I want a second layer to make it more plaid, because if I click off right now to see what it looks like, it's just a grid. So I'm going to select that again. In the tool options, I'm going to click on duplicate. And I'm going to change my new layer to be green. So change my fill to be green. And I'm also going to add an outline by clicking on the upper left-hand corner of the green color chip. I'm going to change my cell size to 6 millimeters and press enter. And if I click off, you can kind of see the red, but not really. Like, you can't see the lines, it's just like a red colored background. So I'm going to select the green again, and down at the very bottom of object properties where it says remove overlaps, we're going to set that to never. Now when I click off, you can clearly see that it's a plaid. So we're going to go ahead and save this. This one's actually done. So File, Save As, and this will be named Plaid Noel or Noel. And I recommend saving it in your Playing with Plaid folder. Next, we're going to make a 8-pointed star. So we're going to do File at the top, New. For fabric, we're just going to click Next. We're going to use the same fabric as last time. We're going to do a new graphic. We're going to leave it at the MIDI hoop and click Finish. We are going to go ahead, and this one's going to be painted again, so we're going to choose our brushes by clicking on the Edit Palette icon and changing it again to the Eddings textile markers. We're going to say OK. And now we're going to make a diamond. Easiest way to do that is with our Create Polygon tool, which if you looked at all the icons on the left hand side right now, you wouldn't be able to see because it's hiding with Create Ellipse. So I'm going to left click and hold, and then move my mouse over, still holding down that left click, to create polygon. Then I let go of the click and it's activated that tool. Up in tool options, I'm going to change the number of sides to 4 because this will get me a diamond. And I'm going to left click and drag, and when I release, a diamond is formed. I'm going to hit spacebar on my keyboard to select my diamond and turn off the tool. And I'm going to change some of my values up here. So X and Y, that is my position on screen. And we're going to be using an array tool in a little bit, and so having it positioned accurately will make it a lot easier. So I want to change X to be 0. I want to change Y to 1.3. And I'm hitting tab to go between the different dialog boxes up there. My width, I want to be 1 inch, and my height 2.5 inches. And I'm going to press enter to set it at the very end. I also want to go ahead and set my fill. So we're going to do a paint net fill again. And I want this time to make my fill green. And I want an outline of green. I'm going to change my cell size to 6 millimeters and press enter to set that. And now I'm ready to use an array tool. I want to use a circular array tool, which again is hiding. This time it's hiding behind Create Rectangular Array. So I'm going to left click and hold, and then come over to Circular Array, select it. And so now I get to enter what I want it to do. So I want my start angle to be 90 degrees. I also want my end angle to be 90 degrees. And then I want to have 8 steps. And I'm pressing enter to set that. And I'm going to click Apply Circular Array. So that did not do what I wanted it to do. I'm going to go ahead and click Undo. And one thing I forgot was I need to uncheck proportional here. Then when I make it 1 by 2.5, so I make my width 1 and my height 2.5 inches, it will be the right size. Now I'm going to go back to Circular Array and click Apply Circular Array because it should remember. And now it looks like what I was going for because I did not really want it to overlap. Now one of the interesting things we can do with the net fills is change their angle. So I'm going to click on one of the what I call the diagonal diamonds. I'm going to hold down my Shift key and select the other diagonal ones. And over in Object Properties, I'm going to change their angle to be 45 and press enter to set that. I think this gives it more cohesion as it goes around. Now I want to go ahead and select everything. So I'm going to go to Edit at the top, select all, I'm going to right click on my design and select group. And once again, I'm going to click on duplicate at the top. This time I want my new layer to be red. And I want my cell size to be 3.0 millimeters. And if I click off and I zoom in, it's done the exact same thing it did to me last time. So I'm going to select the red again, go down to the bottom where it says remove overlaps and say never. Now I get this really cool plaid effect. So I'm ready to save this. So File, Save As, and I named this 8-point plaid star. And we're ready to get to our last one, which we use the net fill. So it's going to be sewn. So we're going to go to File, New. We're going to click Next for the fabric dialog. We're going to say New Graphic again and click Finish. We're going to go back to the Create Polygon tool, and now it's the one that's out because it shows whatever we used last. So I just have to click on it, and it does remember what we used last. I'm just going to left click and drag, let go of my drag to create a diamond, spacebar to select the diamond, and again I have very specific places I want this to be. I want my X to be 0, hit tab, my Y to be 1.55 inches, hit tab, my width to be 1.5 inches, hit tab, and my height to be 3 inches, and I'm going to press enter to set it. So for my fill type, like I was saying, I want this to be a net fill, and if I hover over my colors in my threads palette, I just have an RGB color scheme. So I'm going to go up to the top to edit palettes, and I'm going to change my thread palette from RGB to Ackerman Isacord, which is just our normal Isacord thread. I'm going to say OK, and then with my diamond selected, I'm going to change it to green, both the fill and the outline. Again, the fill is the lower right-hand corner, outline is the upper left-hand corner. I'm going to change my cell size to 2.5. Press enter to set that, and then look at my instructions that I wrote and realize that in fact I do not want this to be green, I want it to be red. So I'm going to change the fill to a red, and I do not want an outline. The reason I don't want an outline is because I don't want it outlining it twice. So the second layer that we're going to put on it, what will be green, will have the outline on it. So now I'm ready to create a circular array. So I'm going to click on Create Circular Array. This time I don't want 8, I want 6, and I can actually just use the step count and hit the down arrow and go to 6. And if you do that, you don't have to press enter. If you type something in, you have to press enter. Then I'm going to click on Apply Circular Array. Move my Sequence Manager over again so it's out of the way. And I want to change my angle of my net fill again. So I'm going to click on what I call diamond number 2, hold down Shift and click on diamond number 5, and we're going to change the angle on these two to 30 and press enter. Then I'm going to select diamond number 3 and diamond number 6 and change its angle to 60 and press enter. So again, if I zoom in, I think it gives it more movement by doing that. I want to select everything, so edit, select all, right click on it and group. I'm going to select duplicate again, and now I'm going to make it green. So I'm going to click in the lower right hand corner to make it a green fill, and the upper left hand corner of the same color chip to put a green outline around it. For my cell size for the green, I want it to be 5 millimeters. I'm going to press enter, and I'm not even going to look and see if it's done it. I'm just going to change my remove overlaps to never. and I'm going to click off, and I have my 6-point sewn plaid star, which is what we're going to save it as. So File, Save As, 6-point sewn plaid star. So now you get to go try it out, sew them out, paint them out, make your own designs, do your own color schemes, and I'd love to see what you do.